Today, our deck in Clash Royale is going to be determined by our emotes, and here's how it's going to work. You can see we have 79 emotes collected, and we have a random number generator pulled up that's going to give us a number between 1 and 79. Whatever number it gives us, we're going to take that number emote and add the troop that it depicts to our deck. And we get number 28. Emote number 28 is the Barbarian. So we're going to be adding, we could add Barbarian Barrel or regular Barbarians. I think we're actually going to add Bar Barrel just because it's a little bit cheaper. All right, the next number we are given is 52. And number 52 is this Spirit Empress emote, which I hardly ever use, but we are going to be adding Spirit Empress to the deck. This deck is looking decent so far. We have Bar Barrel, which is a cheap spell. Spirit Empress is a good air card, and we get number 12. Number 12 is a Goblin. It's a Goblin laughing, so there are quite a few Goblin cards that we could add that would kind of fit the bill. But just to kind of keep it fair, we'll just add the normal Goblins, especially because we can play the hero version now. Alright, our next number is number 37. Number 37 is this Princess emote, so Princess is going to be going in the deck. This deck is kind of turning into a bait strategy, and we get number 1, which is going to be in the normal favorite decks, and it is going to be the Pig. That is the number one emote, so we're going to be adding Royal Hogs, and that is actually an Evo that we can use as well. This deck is coming together really nicely. We're going to get 46, which is going to be this Mini P.E.K.K.A Pancake emote, so we're going to be adding Mini P.E.K.K.A. The hero spot is currently being taken up by the Goblins, and I think we'll actually keep them there. We could also use the hero Mini P.E.K.K.A as well, but I think as of right now, the hero Goblins are a little bit more broken. Our next number is 32, and that is going to be this Hero Ice Golem emote. And I think because of that, I think we are going to have to use the Hero Ice Golem because this literally depicts the Hero Ice Golem, whereas the Goblin just depicted a normal Goblin. So we're going to be switching out the hero slot yet again. And the last one is going to be 16. Emote number 16 is also a Goblin, so we're going to be adding another Goblin card. I don't know that there are any... I guess we could actually add the Goblin Barrel is an Evo card. The Dark Goblin is a different type of Goblin, so I think we can add the Evo Barrel because that depicts those same kinds of Goblins. It kind of fills out the bait roster that we have. This is actually looking like a solid deck, so I'm excited to try out this emote themed deck. And today I actually wanted to share a message with you guys, and this is something that I realized while I was driving back up to Oregon with my brother, which happened just a couple of days ago. Many of you guys know this already, but I drove back up with my brother and his girlfriend just because it's a long drive, and he was going to be the only driver because he's the only one that knew how to drive a stick shift, and so obviously we didn't want to have him drive the entire 20 hours by himself, so I went up to just kind of switch off drivers with him. And this is a drive that I had made before because when I moved from Oregon to Arizona, I drove down as well, and I drove by myself. Oh man, I think we're actually in a bit of trouble. The Ground Empress is actually going to come in clutch here, but I drove from Oregon to Arizona when I first moved here, and I made the drive all by myself as well, just because my family had moved down earlier. I stayed for a little bit to live with my sister and brother-in-law. I think I did that a little bit too early. Please still activate. Okay, yeah, I was afraid I used the Bar Barrel a bit too early there. But several months ago, I drove from Oregon to Arizona. I did it all by myself, and it was gruesome. It was a horrible drive because the entire 20 hours you are by yourself. Like, you can't swap out drivers. You're driving through the night. You're driving constantly, and there's nobody there. Oh man, I should not have done that. Okay, well we're definitely losing our tower. The good news is we're taking his. But this is going to... Okay, I think we're going to have to... Just hold on one second. I'll share my thought with you guys in a minute. We're just going to have to do this to tank. And I think we're going to use the ability as well, just to freeze the tower. Okay. Alright, this is not going to come easy. I had driven from Oregon to Arizona before by myself. It was not a pleasant experience. And when I drove the second time with him, with my brother, it was, it was still, it was still difficult, right? Like, don't get me wrong, it was still a tough experience. Like, I still drove for probably almost half of it. I think he probably drove a little bit more than me, but I probably drove for 9 hours. Probably drove for 9 hours of the 20-hour drive, and so it was still a bit of work, but it was significantly easier. It was significantly easier than when I had done it the first time, because when I had done it the first time, I was on my own. I had no help, and so having someone that I could swap out with, right, when I was getting tired, when I was starting to kind of doze off and go to sleep, having somebody that I could swap out with was super helpful. And it kind of helped me realize that even though you can technically do some things on your own, it's much easier when you have help, right? Like, technically, could I make the drive from Oregon to Arizona all on my own? Yeah, I could, right? Like, I had done it before. Like, technically, I had gone from Oregon to, oh, hold on. No. I had driven from Oregon to Arizona on my own before, and so it was possible. I could do it on my own, but it was so exhausting. It was so mentally and physically draining that it was not enjoyable at all. Like, it was just, like, I just wanted to give up, and there were still 10 hours, even more than that, like 5 hours into the drive, I was wanting to give up, but there was no one else on the drive with me. I literally could not swap out. I had to drive the entire way down because that was the only option. And so driving with my brother just helped me realize that even though you technically can make this drive alone, it's much easier when you have somebody else there to help you. And this doesn't just apply in the context of driving, but this applies in the context of anything, right? Technically, you can do a lot of things on your own, but it's probably not most efficient to do that. Can you get through all the struggles and the depression and the mental health issues of the world on your own? A lot of people technically can, right? They can technically make it through life on their own and just kind of, suffer through it. They can technically still survive. However, it's not the most efficient way to do it. And driving, believe it or not, driving from Arizona to Oregon a second time kind of helped me realize that. Like, it was so hard the first time when I was on my own, and when there was someone there a second time that could help me out, it was much easier. Okay, hold on. So I guess what I wanted to share with you guys is, even though a lot of people think I think a lot of people think that it's weak to ask for help. I think a lot of people don't want to ask. A lot of people don't want to ask for help because, especially men, like, being a dude myself, I kind of know it kind of feels a little bit, it doesn't feel great having to ask somebody for help. Like, you never want to have to, be reliant on somebody. You kind of want to do things yourself. A lot of people, you want to be independent. You don't want to have to, you just don't want to have to be reliant on others. And so a lot of people see it as a weakness to ask for help. But I think it's actually a strength. I think it's actually kind of a sign of, acknowledging, just kind of being humble in a sense, right? Like, acknowledging that you can't do everything on your own. It's kind of being humble. It's acknowledging I'm not better than everyone else. I can't do anything and everything completely on my own. And so I think I just think it's a sign of, I just think it's a sign of strength and not a sign of weakness to ask for help. And there's a lot of things that are just significantly, there are just things that are much easier when you have help to do them with. Driving across the country is one of them. Also, I don't know what that goblin barrel was. I think the bowler is pretty much going to take care of that anyway. Okay, hold on. I don't want to choke this game. We haven't taken any damage yet, but if I keep playing the way that I am, we might end up choking here. So I guess hopefully that kind of made sense to you guys. Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not weak to ask for help. I think it's a sign of, I think it's a sign of strength to kind of acknowledge that. That sometimes you do need help, right? You're not this omnipotent being that can just endure everything. Like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not do everything on your own. Right? Particularly in the case of driving across the country, but also just when it comes to other things as well. So, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that means something to you guys. Just because I realized it was significantly easier driving the second time when I did have help. Let's actually use the ability here just to hopefully freeze the bowler. Alright, we're still not gonna... Wait, what the... I'm too tired, man. I didn't even see the bush on the other side. You know what? Maybe the emote deck is not as good as I thought it was. I thought it looked pretty good. I think I just didn't play it well. But that was the emote deck based off of emotes. If you've taken anything from today's message, just know that it's okay to kind of seek out others for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to involve other people to kind of share your burdens with. Just because even though you can technically trudge through life on your own and do it by yourself, it's much more enjoyable when you have other people there that are able to help you. I was able to make the 20-hour drive, but it was probably the worst 20 hours of my life. It was miserable the first time I came down, and it was a little bit easier when I had someone to help drive with me. So hopefully you guys enjoy the emote deck. Let me know if there's any challenges that you want me to try in a future video, any deck ideas, any kind of theme that you want me to build the deck around. Yeah, hopefully you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.